Over Valorant's 6-year pro history, we fans have witnessed countless iconic IGLs and superstars leading their teams to the pinnacle of the esport. But throughout this history, one thing is often overlooked: the unlikely heroes. These are the players who stepped up unexpectedly, giving their team the critical edge or filling that exact role needed to push further than anyone imagined. These breakout stars were instrumental in achieving the impossible, and came in all forms, each with fascinating stories. That's why I decided to examine 4 different players who became the unappreciated key to their team's success. We'll explore their impact during their critical runs and discover what happened to them afterwards. But before we get into that, I'm going to ask you to do something I've never done in one of my videos before. I'm going to genuinely ask you to at least check this thing out. I make my own posters and I'm starting to sell them. I just enjoy making these designs and thought they might interest some people in my community. You can check them out at entropywizardposters.com, which is linked in the description and pinned comment. Everything's run by me and me alone, so really you'd be supporting me directly. And get something physical that no one else has. And since you guys are my audience, the first 25 orders that use the code eSportsFan will get 10% off. I'll talk more about Entropy Wizard going forward, and you might see a few other VCT creators talking about it, so I really hope you check it out at least, and see if you're interested. But either way, thanks for sticking around for over 3 years now. And let's get into Valorant's unlikeliest of heroes. Our first unlikely hero takes us back to Valorant's second full season. At that year's first Masters event, Japan announced its presence to the world with Zeta Division's incredible Dark Horse run. While most people remember Laz on Chamber turning heads globally during their 3rd place finish, just behind Prime, Loud, and Optic, many overlook what truly sustained that run. It was their Astra player Sugarzero. He became the team's backbone, consistently performing far beyond expectations on the international stage. Pushed to the brink of elimination early both in group stages and playoffs, Sugarzero was critical to their survival. For a support player, posting a 240 ACS and a 1.14 KD ratio is exceptional, clearly marking him as a center to their success in those clutch elimination wins. Crucially, his performance wasn't limited to victories. Even in their losses, he rarely underperformed. After this 3rd place finish, Zeta Division, and indeed the entire nation of Japan, was hyped for the future. Unfortunately, this peak proved unreachable again. In the years since, the roster around him has changed multiple times in attempts to recapture that spark, but success has remained elusive. For Sugarzero personally, he's continued to be a solid smokes player for the team. However, he hasn't really returned to that superstar team carrying status he held during that legendary tournament. Despite this, his career's trajectory has been more favorable than most. Many others from similar heroic runs struggle to stay in Tier 1 competing long term. Zeek stands as the original unlikely hero. He was critical in propelling Ascend to the pinnacle of Valorant during the very first World Championship, an event where every playoff match was elimination. As their flex player, Zeek consistently chose agents that the team needed. When Zeek began fragging heavily against giants like Envy and Team Liquid, Ascend truly started to play at a championship level. Crucially, he excelled on the secondary duelist role, a position he struggled with before the tournament. Struggles partly responsible for their humiliating upset at the previous international event in Berlin. But Zeek flipped the script entirely. He erased those doubts by delivering some of his best maps of the entire season in the Grand Finals' final 2 maps against Gambit. On Icebox, he and CNED formed the perfect 2-headed dragon, securing an overtime win. Then on Split, Zeek's Raze sealed the championship. He dominated first engagements, securing 5 first kills to 1 first death. Combine that with CNED's 4 first kills to 1 first death, and it just underscores how critical both players' duelist prowess was to winning the final map and lifting that trophy. Often forgot is that by the end of their run, while CNED was hailed as the world's best player, Zeek was putting up statistically identical numbers. Yet after this victory, everything spiraled downwards rapidly. Throughout 2022, Ascend failed to qualify for any international event. Zeek's agent pool no longer fit the evolving meta. Like his teammates, the game seemed to have passed him by. Missing Masters Copenhagen was the final blow. Zeek was released just 6 months after becoming a world champion. He earned another Tier 1 chance with the inaugural Team Heretics roster in 2023, however they finished at the bottom of the EMEA table, leading to Zeek being dropped once more. Now playing Initiator, he faced intense competition from newer talents with higher perceived potential. It seems Zeek had already reached his career apex. Since then, he's bounced around Tier 2 European teams, even competing in last year's EMEA Ascension tournament before an early exit. Currently, Zeek is the IGL for the Polish organization Enterprise eSports. They compete in the Northeast Challengers League, where they're performing well once again. Notably, he's reunited with former teammate and fellow support players Keyless. This is the story of a player who's too often overlooked, tragically cut short at the peak of his promise. For Crew eSports, DaveeyS wasn't just a name, he was the beating heart of their unthinkable underdog run through the 2023 America's LCQ. After a winless regular season, Crew faced utter humiliation. Yet against all odds, they won every single match to keep their perfect champion's attendance alive. A run that defied logic and forever changed how we saw DaveeyS. Before the LCQ, he was seen as a rising star trapped in the league's weakest team. A skilled sentinel whose KJ sight anchors were rare bright spots in a dismal year. Many assumed going into next year that they'd try to build a roster all around him. But no one predicted how he'd ignite when everything seemed lost. In those early LCQ matches against MIBR and Lev, DaveeyS lit a fire under Crew. His aggressive KJ plays on attack dismantled defenses, while his clutches against Furia and Cloud9 in elimination games became instant legends. By the grand finals, he'd racked up a 1.07 rating and a 1.18 KD, and one of the event's highest headshot percentages as well, transforming from a promising talent into a clutch cornerstone for this team. Then came the pinnacle, 2 1v1 clutches against Lev to seal Crew's impossible ticket to champions. In that moment, DaveeyS wasn't just a support player, he was the core of the miracle. Though Crew's magic ended quickly at champions, their mission was achieved. DaveeyS had delivered his region back to the world stage. The future glowed bright for him and Crew heading into 2024. Then the unthinkable. Weeks after champions, DaveeyS passed away from sudden heart failure. The VCT community was shattered. A career brimming with potential, extinguished before we all got to see what he could do on the biggest of stages again. Yet his legacy isn't defined by tragedy. We remember the joy he united, that fearless sentinel who rallied a broken team, inspired a region, and proved magic exists in esports. DaveeyS wasn't just an unlikely hero, he was the pure embodiment of one. Valorant history has seen substitutes step onto the biggest of stages with zero notice. We've witnessed emergency rosters, even entire teams of subs, but only one substitute ever lifted an international trophy. Tier 2 stand-in Cider for FPX at Masters Copenhagen 2022. Days before the event, FPX announced starter Sugarzero, due to visa issues related to his Russian passport, couldn't arrive on time. With no alternative, they called Cider, a flexible but unproven Tier 2 player, as a last-second replacement. Though Cider had shown versatility across roles in smaller leagues, jumping into a title-contending team against the world's best, that was uncharted pressure. And FPX's goal was simple, they just needed to survive, hold the line until Sugarzero arrives. But Cider didn't just endure, he started blending into the top tier of Valorant. His clutch plays secured a critical overtime map win against Xerxia. Facing elimination versus North Eption, he played selfless spike planter on Ascent, enabling stars like Artis on Chamber to dismantle opponents. He flexed between initiator and controller seamlessly, buying time until Sugarzero's arrival. After not being a dead weight for 4 matches, Sugarzero was cleared to start playing. Cider's mission was complete, and his stats, shockingly solid for a player just thrown into a title-hopeful team right before a Masters tournament. He wasn't a superstar, but his adaptivity gave FPX the foundation to survive, and eventually win the entire Masters trophy. Yet, after Copenhagen, Cider returned to Tier 2. He cycled through respected orgs, but never reached Ascension in 2023 or 2024. Today, he competes with Metsuport in the Northeast Challengers League. While not dominating like Zeek's squad, they're mid-table contenders, fighting for a 2025 Ascension spot. Cider remains a capable flex player, still chasing that elusive return to Tier 1, just like his miracle run with champions FPX. Could you guess which country would win in a World Cup? Well, click on my last video here to see if you agree with me or not. Also, make sure you check out my original posters in the link below at entropywizardposters.com, and make sure you use my super secret code just for my viewers. Thanks.